I'm Paula Hancock in Seoul. This is CNN.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello, everyone. I'm Allison Camerata. Welcome to CNN Newsroom. Victor is off today. One of the most consequential decisions in Supreme Court history was just handed down. The conservative majority of justices overturned Roe v. Wade, ending the constitutional right to an abortion. In a narrow 5-4 vote, the landmark decision reverses nearly 50 years of court precedent. This is sparking a range of emotions, from victory celebrations to outrage. You see some vocal protesters gathering outside of the Supreme Court at this hour. President Biden called the decision a, quote, tragic error.
Today, the Supreme Court of the United States expressly took away a constitutional right from the American people that it had already recognized. They didn't limit it, they simply took it away. State laws banning abortion are automatically taking effect today, jeopardizing the health of millions of women, some without exceptions. So extreme that women could be punished for protecting their health.
So the stunning decision now turns abortion rights over to the states, and the impact on women will be immediate and far-reaching. Nearly half of all states have trigger laws, as the president alluded to there, or other plans in place to ban or severely limit abortion. CNN Supreme Court reporter Ariane DeVoe joins us now. So Ariane, tell us the significance and the implications of this ruling.
Right, the court wiping away nearly a half century of precedent. Justice Samuel Alito really hewed very closely to that draft opinion that we saw last month. He said that Roe is egregiously wrong. He said the right is not in the Constitution. And he said that this issue belongs to the states. And he made a point to say that women had political power and they could go to the states and work in the political arena on the issue. Here's what he wrote on behalf of the conservatives. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. And far from bringing about a national settlement of the abortion issue, Roe and Casey have inflamed debate and deepened division. He also tried to wall off this opinion today from other cases that had similar legal reasoning, cases like for gay marriage and the right to contraception. For Alito, he said abortion is different because it has to do with ending a potential life. So an enormous victory for opponents of abortion, and of course a big loss for supporters of abortion rights. Interestingly, the dissenters here, the three of them, they wrote together. That doesn't usually happen. They wrote this biting dissent, and here's how they ended it. They said, with sorrow for this court, but more for the many millions of American women who have today lost a fundamental constitutional protection, we dissent. They said that this represents a curtailment of a woman's right and for their status as free and equal citizens. And here's another interesting thing. This is probably one of Justice Breyer's last dissents on the court. And today, this decision actually overturns an opinion that was on the books for his entire tenure. So a poignant last week or so of the court for Justice Breyer.
Ariane DeVoe, thank you for all of that context.
Thanks.
So the president weighing in, as you heard, on this monumental Supreme Court decision. CNN's Phil Mattingly is at the White House. Phil, is there any executive action that President Biden could take that would impact this decision?
You know, Allison, the disappointment in the president's voice today when he reacted to this decision was palpable. His authority, it's limited. There's no question about it. White House officials have been preparing intensively behind the scenes over the course of several months, even more so since the leak of the draft opinion that was released today in the last several weeks, trying to figure out ways that they can address this in some way, shape, or form, knowing that in many states across the country, the state laws will allow abortion to continue. Now, the reality is, short of legislative action, short of major changes in Congress, there's not anything that can directly address what happened today. But as you noted, looking through administrative options, the president underscoring, however, that politically something needs to change for the broader decision to have an impact. Take a listen.
My administration will use all of its appropriate lawful powers, but Congress must act. And with your vote, you can act. You can have the final word. This is not over.
Now, you heard a similar sentiment from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi earlier today, making clear this is an issue that will be on the ballot in November. Political aides inside the White House have been trying to gauge what type of activation this would bring to a party that has been kind of in the doldrums over the course of the last several months. They believe it will have an effect. How big of one is still an open question, but there's no question about this. This is an extraordinarily consequential moment, not just in the president's presidency, but in the country's history, certainly over the course of the last 5 decades.
Right, we could hear their language talking about basically trying to galvanize voters, that now it's in the hands of voters. But in terms of what the president was saying about the Department of Justice and keeping this from being criminalized, or women being criminalized, what can they do there?
The president gave a window into these debates that have been going on behind the scenes, legal debates, policy debates, regulatory debates, as they've tried to figure out pathways to address particularly states that are continuing to allow abortions that may border with states that will not anymore. The Justice Department, the president making very clear, will fight back on any efforts to criminalize things like travel. Obviously, the FDA, the Health and Human Services Department, will be looking at abortion that can be purchased, abortion pills that can be purchased as well, making sure that those remain legal. There are going to be a series of things rolled out over the course of the next several weeks on the regulatory side, on what the Justice Department can do, that underscores the administration's efforts, knowing that this was coming. I would also note this. Vice President Kamala Harris is in Illinois today. She has been a key player behind the scenes over the course of the last several months on this issue. She will be rolling out a rather sweeping maternal health proposal, set of proposals on that trip to Illinois. And while this was long in the works before this decision came through, it certainly takes on a new moment of urgency in this administration, given some of the health challenges they believe will be raised by what happened today, Allison.
Okay, Phil Mattingly, thank you for all of that reporting. Let's bring in now Gloria Borger. She's our CNN chief political analyst. We also have Joan Biskupic with us, our CNN legal analyst and a Supreme Court biographer. Also Ellie Honig, who's our CNN senior legal analyst and a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. And Ellie, I just want to start with the legal battle here, because in a simplistic conclusion, you could say, okay, well, it goes back to the states. The red states obviously restrict abortion. The blue states expand rights, or at least keep protections in place. And there you have it. Except that I've heard so many legal analysts say, no, there will be interstate battles. This is more complicated than that simplistic reading.
Yeah, Allison, it's going to be certainly more complex than that. Base level, it looks like the United States will be split roughly in half between those that do and do not allow abortion. Where it's going to get really complicated is if states that have outlawed or will outlaw abortion start passing laws that have longer reach, that extend over their state borders. For example, if they say it's a crime to get an abortion in this state, it's a crime to cross over this state line, to travel across or through this state to get an abortion elsewhere, then how's that going to play out? If it's a crime in a given state to do anything to obtain an abortion, for example, to get on the phone with a doctor in another state, to consult about an abortion, to pay for an abortion, to schedule, to order medication that may go with this, then we're going to see lines crossed across states. And that's where DOJ may have a role to step in and to challenge rules that overreach, that reach across state lines, and to argue that this violates the Commerce Clause or violates larger federal interests. So things are about to get a lot more complicated than even the 50-50 split.
Joan, we heard many people, including Speaker Pelosi today, talk about what they see as this contradiction, maybe even hypocrisy, in the past 24 hours between these two Supreme Court rulings. You know, gun rights cannot be left to the states. Basically, it seemed as though the Supreme Court was saying, but abortion rights can be left to the states. How does the Supreme Court square that?
You know, Allison, this is a whole new court, and it's going to be with us for a while. The 5-justice block that decided to totally reverse Roe was part of what the group that ruled for gun rights yesterday, but Chief Justice John Roberts was with them. In this case, he wasn't with them, but it just goes to show how different things are evidenced by this ruling than it's been for the past 50 years with other Republican-appointed conservatives. Other Republican-appointed conservatives said, we may not have liked Roe v. Wade, but we had to respect it. We had to uphold it based on a very revered principle in the law of adherence to precedent. But these 5 justices, including the 3 new Trump appointees, just cast that aside. And what the dissenters said is they are not done yet. And I think this is a really important point for our audience. They are not done yet. Clarence Thomas, one of the 5 in the majority, even said that he would welcome challenges to other privacy interests like contraceptives, like, same-sex marriage. So this just goes to show what has happened in America with our highest court, for better or for worse. This is it. And the rhetoric and tone of this ruling to say not just that Roe is egregiously wrong, as Samuel Alito wrote, but to highlight, rather than a woman's right to choose what happens with her pregnancy, to highlight fetal life and to refer to the fact that Mississippi, which passed the 15-week ban that was at issue here, had referred to fetal life as an unborn human being. So that is the tone of this opinion. And I should also mention about the future of this court, 3 of the justices in the majority, the Trump appointees, are only in their 50s. So for at least another generation, they will be deciding the law of the land.
Gloria, one of those is Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and we all remember when then Judge Kavanaugh was, during his confirmation process, able to convince Senator Susan Collins that he would respect the precedent of Roe versus Wade. And today she sounds as though she feels she was misled. She says, she put out a statement saying this decision is inconsistent with what Justice Gorsuch and Kavanaugh said in their testimony and their meetings with me when they both were insistent on the importance of supporting long-standing precedents that the country has relied upon. Your thoughts?
Well, should this be a shock? I mean, when was the last time that somebody sat in front of the Judiciary Committee who wanted to be confirmed to the Supreme Court and actually said, this is how I would vote on Roe? And I think that Justice Bork was the last one who actually told what he thought about things, and of course he didn't get confirmed. So the answers we're used to getting are complete pablum. And I think everyone sort of presumes that, and we should presume that, given what happened with Roe, for example. And I think, the question now before the American public is, how do you react to this whole new world? It's been 50 years, and this is a right for women that has been taken away. And Joe Biden said very clearly, Roe is on the ballot. The court, by 2-to-1 margins, the public disagrees with what the court did. And it's too early to say how this is going to play out. But there are lots of questions that people will be asking their legislators and the court, because faith in the court has sunk to an all-time low of 25%.
We keep talking about this as though it's a women's issue. I mean, it's hard to get. It's hard to get pregnant without a man. I mean, it's possible actually, but it's difficult, and so it's a family issue. It's a man's issue. It's a woman's issue. I mean, it's
an economic
complicated.
issue.
It's a huge economic issue. But Ellie, about that stare decisis, the respecting of the precedent, and about the slippery slope argument. I mean, how do you interpret what Justice Alito said about now sort of everything's fair game?
Well, there's 3 different perspectives in this opinion that came out today, Allison. Justice Alito says, look, even though these rights to abortion, to contraception, to marriage, to sexual practices all spring from the same source of the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, we're only touching the abortion issue today. All those other ones, they're safe. We're not going there. Justice Clarence Thomas says, we should go there. We should reconsider those rights that we've established regarding marriage and contraception and sexual practices. The dissent, of course, says, why should we trust what you say, Justice Alito? Because based on the legal principle that you're establishing here, all those other rights could well be in jeopardy as well. They should not be, the dissent argues, but they're in play now too. So that's where this is going to head in the future. We've got a split court, but as Joan and Gloria said, this is a 6-3 conservative court any way you cut it, and it's likely to remain in conservative control for the next several years at least.
But, Joan, Chief Justice Roberts is a bit of a wild card. I mean, maybe I'm overstating that. But the way he decided with this, but not thinking that Roe versus Wade should be overturned, was that interesting or unexpected to you?
No, it wasn't. It's interesting that you pointed out, Allison, but he had tipped his hand during oral arguments back in December in this case, where what he wanted was to uphold the Mississippi law, the 15-week ban. And he had proposed that essentially during oral arguments and also cautioned, look, we don't need to confront Roe v. Wade. In fact, Allison, when the justices first agreed to hear this case, they said they were only going to decide whether the 15-week ban should be upheld. They weren't going to decide the fate of Roe v. Wade, which is another sign of how aggressive this 5-justice conservative bloc is. But what the chief had argued, sort of implicitly during oral arguments, but then also behind the scenes, was we don't need to go as far as you 5 want to go. Let's just uphold this 15-week ban. Let's save to another day the fate of Roe v. Wade when the issue can be fully joined. He has an institutional interest here, Allison. You know, he constantly argues in every speech he makes about how the justices aren't political, that they're not partisan. Once they come on the court, they're just wearing these black robes, and they're neither, as he said to Donald Trump, Obama judges, Trump judges, Bush judges, Clinton judges. But, you know, we saw so clearly right now, we have the 3 Trump judges and two different Bush judges in this majority here. But the chief did not want to send that signal, but there was nothing he could do here. There was nothing he could do. There were no takers. And as he wrote his concurring opinion, again, siding with the Mississippi officials, but not wanting to do Roe, he said, we needn't have taken it all the way down to the studs. It just wasn't time.
Gloria Borger, Joan Biskupic, Ellie Honig, thank you all very much. So our coverage of this historic day at the Supreme Court continues. We'll talk to 2 Republicans on opposite sides of the abortion issue next.
Connecting Africa in association with Afrexim Bank.
The part of the problem really, Eleni, is the fact that Africa, we import most of what we consume, especially food. Africa imported over 55 million tons of wheat. The price, for example, got up from, say, average of $250 per ton to almost $600 per ton. A lot of the people cannot really afford that, and that is a big issue. That is why I keep saying that, you know, we have to look inwards. We have to really do as much as we can to add value to what we have. We have to increase, you know, production for food security.
Connecting Africa in association with Afrexim Bank.
To open doors, to develop contacts, and to unlock secrets, it takes trust.
It was the first time he really came out of his shell in front of a camera.
Trust that you'll listen.
So great that you're here today. It just highlights what's making a difference.
That you'll be honest.
I don't want to pry, but what sort of conversations do you have with them?
Trust that you'll be accurate and you'll be fair.
It was an unprecedented move. Very eerie. All the roads have been closed off. Describe the scene that you arrived to.
The Apache attack helicopter. This is what Captain Wales has been flying. Do you want talks with them?
What is the point of talking now?
Huge amounts of police support coming into this protest. We continue to monitor the government in crisis.
This was the Duchess's first news interview. Rare access indeed.
That's what it's all about.
Max Foster, CNN.
Protesters are gathering outside the Supreme Court right now after Roe versus Wade was overturned today. Joining us now, CNN political commentators Alice Stewart and Ana Navarro. Both of them are Republicans. Both have very different views on this. Great to see you, ladies. Alice, I want to start with you because I know that you support this decision, you like this decision, and I read you called it an astounding victory for democracy. What do you mean?
Well, certainly this is a victory because there have been people in the pro-life movement and parents and pastors and politicians for the last 50 years that have been advocating and fighting for this decision because they agree with Alito's opinion on this, that Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, and it's time to put this decision of life and against abortion away from unelected justices and put it in the hands of elected representatives. And it's time to put this decision back in the hands of people at the state level. And democracy is best when it is served of the people, by the people, and for the people, and in this case, closest to the people. So those closest to the people across this country will now have the opportunity to weigh in on this very controversial and emotional topic.
Okay. Ana, your thoughts?
Look, states' rights, not for guns, but yes for this, right? So apparently it's okay for to go, yes, just yesterday, you can't be but struck by the contrast that just yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled down the concealed weapon issue in New York and said it was not a state's right. So apparently states are allowed to regulate my uterus, but not guns that kill people. So I have a very hard time with the inconsistency and cherry picking of what makes states' rights. I also think there's a bunch of different issues. Look, I am Catholic. I fully respect people who are against abortion. But if you are against abortion, then don't have an abortion. If you are against gay marriage, then don't marry somebody who's gay. If you are against contraception, then don't take contraception. But if we are honest, this decision has been promoted, advocated, and is based on Christian values, on religious values. And we live in a country where there is supposed to be separation between church and state. And I should not be imposing my Catholic values on any other American. And I'm also very concerned by the fact that this creates two Americas, right? There's going to be the states where people have some rights, and there's going to be states where people don't have some rights. There's going to be a difference between women who have money and the men who impregnate them when they have money. Women who don't have money. This is not getting rid of abortion. This is getting rid of safe abortion. Let's be real about what this means.
Alice, you know, obviously, Ana, there raised a lot of questions, but beyond the political debate, beyond the emotional debate, beyond even the religious debate, my question has always been about the practical issues. Who will support these hundreds of thousands of unwanted babies when they're forced to be born? Who will, in these Republican-led, more red states, will they expand the social safety net? Who will pay the medical bills, the housing bills of these children? How will that work?
Look, there are a lot of factors that need to be ironed out as this moves forward and is put back at the state level where it belongs. But I can tell you, having worked and advocated in the pro-life community for many years, there are crisis pregnancy centers set up across this country that are there to provide assistance, financial assistance for expectant mothers.
Right, but
before,
I mean
during,
after
and after.
I mean after
before,
they're born.
Before, during, and after they have their child, whether they decide to put it up for adoption or they want to keep it themselves. There are services in place in the pro-life community that will help in this situation.
But Alice, hold on, Alice. Let me just talk to you about that. There are something like 410,000 children in the foster care system right now in the U.S. So clearly they're not all being adopted. And some of these babies will have obviously physical disabilities. What is the plan? Obviously, they're not just all being taken care of currently.
Well, clearly those are important issues, and abnormalities of children, whether in the womb or after the child is born, is something that needs to be discussed and considered and obviously taken care of again at the state level. And I think it's really important that while we're obviously concerned about this issue, it's very divisive, very controversial. Look, no one has spoken up for the last 50 years for the unborn child, the sanctity of life, and now people have had the opportunity to speak up for the unborn child, and that's important. Look, I know Anna is a woman of faith. She has a huge heart. She is very passionate. But also I know that the Catholic faith believes in life and supports the sanctity of life. And I find it's just, I don't understand how you can say on one hand you support life, yet you're fine with a woman's decision to choose abortion. And look, there are provisions in place to protect the mother before, during, and after the child.
And I am not anybody to tell you what you need to do with your life or with your uterus. And because I have a family with a lot of special needs kids. I have a brother who's 57 and has the mental and motor skills of a 1-year-old. And I know what that means financially, emotionally, physically for a family. And I know not all families can do it. And I have a step-granddaughter who was born with Down syndrome. And you know what? It is very difficult in Florida to get services. It is not as easy as it sounds on paper. And I've got another step-grandson who is very autistic, who has autism, and it is incredible. And their mothers and people who are in that society, who are in that community, will tell you that they've considered suicide because that's how difficult it is to get help, because that's how lonely they feel, because they can't get other jobs, because they have financial issues, because the care that they're able to give their other children suffers. And so why can I be Catholic and still think this is a wrong decision? Because I'm American. I'm Catholic inside the church. I'm Catholic when it comes to me. But there's a lot of Americans who are not Catholic and are not Christian and are not Baptist. And you have no damn right to tell them what they should do with their bodies. Nobody does.
Ladies, obviously it's a very emotional topic. I hear you, I understand that, and I think that, Anna, thank you for sharing all of that, and I appreciate you pointing out that it's complicated beyond just supporting the pregnant woman. Supporting the pregnant woman is good, but then it gets more complicated after that. And Alice, I appreciate your perspective as well. Thank you both for being here on this really important and emotional day.
Thank you, Allison.
Protesters still staying outside of the Supreme Court. We're going to take you there live. Also, the Senior Vice President for Planned Parenthood is going to join us with where they go next. Plus, the House passes the first major federal gun safety legislation in decades. We talk about the significance of this, too.
We are here in Abu Dhabi, the capital of United Arab Emirates, and we are in Rahal Ranch. You come here, it's totally different. Yeah! You'll enjoy the real energy of the land. I am an international horse master. Boom. Come on, boys. You got to understand the psychology of the horse, not just to train the horse and get him fit and ride him. The job we do here, control a horse basically from distance. How clever is that? The Arabian horse got the stamina, he got the beauty, he got the power. We have people come from all over the world. They stay here at the ranch as well. They have lessons here. We go right in the wild of the Arabian desert. It's just so beautiful.
No one voice is better or more important than another. We need everybody. One of the things that we always say is that we want to tell the world that slavery still exists, but in order to do that, we need everybody to tell their world. My name is Jenny Brown, and I'm the campaign director of the End It movement. Shine a Light on Slavery Day is a day that we pick each year. It's typically in the month of February, and it's a time for us to really own the conversation for freedom. We ask everybody to join with us by drawing a red X on their hand or putting a pin on or some apparel, whatever's appropriate, and then posting about it on social media and just going about your day having conversations to let people know that slavery still exists. We have heard story after story of lawmakers hearing about it because they saw a bunch of pictures on social media of people with red X's and wanted to learn more. And it caused them to want to do things like creating global funds that made resources and funding available for different partners around the world. On Shine a Light on Slavery Day, we really hope to see people from all walks of life, from celebrities and influencers and professional athletes to politicians to soccer moms and college students. We feel like this really is just a human issue, and it's going to take everybody on board across the world in order to make a dent and to really truly bring freedom to the 40 million men, women, and children trapped in slavery around the world today.
I'm Jim Bitterman in Paris, and this is CNN.
Business is all about making connections. But some connections are easier to make than others. With a CNN partner hotel, the world is always at your fingertips. CNN partner hotels, connected to your world.
I'm Ben Wiedemann in Ukraine, and this is CNN.
Emotional reactions outside the Supreme Court at this hour following the decision to overturn Roe versus Wade. CNN's Whitney Wild is there. So, Whitney, tell us what the scene is. What are you hearing from protesters?
Well, right now, the scene is much bigger than it was earlier. This group has grown by the hundreds, Allison. And right now, these are mostly, if not entirely, people who are out here protesting the Supreme Court's decision. Let me give you a live look. And it includes Capitol Police officers. You can see Capitol Police officers lining the fence here because they know this could turn into a law enforcement issue. For now, though, it is calm. For now, no confrontations. We have not seen any arrests. We have not seen any reason for Capitol Police to intervene since this opinion came down. Again, this group has grown by the hundreds. And again, this is now entirely focused on people who are protesting the Supreme Court decision. I spoke with two women in the crowd. Here's what they told me earlier today.
I'm extremely angry. I'm fired up. The fight is not over. People did this fight 50 years ago. I guess it's our turn to take the fight up again. It may take us 50 years, but we'll get back.
I want women to know, I want everyone to know that women are stronger than their circumstances. And no matter what situation that you find yourself in, the post-Roe generation, the pro-life generation is here to say you can. Abortion tells women you can't. You can't go to college. You can't achieve your dreams. You have to have the right to end the life of your child so that you can live your dream. And I think that's misogyny. I think that that is disgusting. And I think that we're better than that in 2022. And
this crowd is expected to grow throughout the evening. There is another protest planned for closer to Capitol Hill. This is a concern for law enforcement. Again, it's peaceful now, but there are concerns, and here's why. There's concerns about opposing groups clashing, so they're prepared for that. There's concerns about people using this as an opportunity to commit acts of violence. A big fear is that a lone wolf-style attack could zero in on the group here and see an opportunity to commit a mass casualty event, so they're prepared for that. Law enforcement in the area ramping up staffing, and neighboring agencies have flooded into Washington to help Capitol Police. Back to you.
Okay, let's pray that it remains peaceful. Whitney Wild, thank you very much. Let's bring in Jacqueline Ayers. She is the Senior Vice President at Planned Parenthood. Jacqueline, thanks so much for being here. Your reaction to this decision?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Today's decision is completely devastating, and I am furious. I am holding in my heart, thinking about all of the patients, the doctors who were prepared to get health care today. And now there is nothing but confusion and misinformation. Many people who are going to be seeking services, not knowing where they can turn to. I think the court failed us today, and instead they handed a victory over to the politicians who are trying to take our rights away, who are telling us that we can't make decisions about our own bodies. But it is a truly devastating day, but the fight absolutely is not over.
How does this change Planned Parenthood's mission?
Planned Parenthood, as the nation's largest sexual and reproductive health care provider, is going to continue to provide services no matter what. Planned Parenthood has been well over 100 years providing services in communities all across the country, and will continue to provide legally allowable services in all of the health centers that we have. We're also going to continue to help people get access to care. If you're in a state where abortion has been banned, we are going to help you navigate the very complicated healthcare system, helping you figure out where you can get your healthcare services. Patient navigation is something that we have been planning and preparing for. We are also going to continue working with other independent providers, abortion funds, corporations, asking everybody to have a role in helping people get access to care. So we're going to continue to stay dedicated to our mission, and that will continue to be helping people get access to abortion.
But legal and allowable, as you just said, I mean, therein lies the rub. Are you worried that some of your providers, if they help a woman cross state lines in order to access a safe abortion, that they will be criminally held liable?
I think what we do know is that the Supreme Court today has handed an invitation to hostile states to continue to pass laws that could do a lot of that, right? Threatening people's access to be able to travel, to be able to aid or assist someone. We've already seen it in states like Texas, where they're trying to not just prevent people to get care, but basically turn their neighbors on one another, and make it so that everybody is going to be in fear of helping someone get care. I think that, what you're going to see, Planned Parenthood providers are going to continue to be committed, continue to make sure that people have access to the services where they can, and also access to the information where they can. We have many partners who are working right now to answer patient phone calls, make sure that people can get access. We also are partnering with abortionfinder.org so that we can help people navigate to get to the health center in the schedule that they need, whether it's in their state or not, and get to the most local provider possible. We're going to see that providers are going to continue to do any and everything they can to make sure that we're beating back misinformation also that we know is going to be out there. This is going to be a complicated field. This is going to be a healthcare crisis. We anticipate that there are about 26 states that will take this invitation from the Supreme Court and seek to further restrict access to abortion. That leaves about 24 states with favorable laws that will protect people's access. But the reality is that those 24 states cannot absorb and care for patients of all 50 states. So we know that means people are going to have to really face terrible consequences, difficult decisions, and some people are going to have to go without care. So right now we are making sure that everybody understands this is a healthcare crisis. The Supreme Court has dealt a terrible blow, and we want to make sure that people know lifting your voice, fighting back, and continuing to make ourselves get back into the Constitution is what we're going to be focused on.
Jacqueline Ayers of Planned Parenthood, thank you very much for your time. All right, well, Attorney General Merrick Garland says the Justice Department strongly disagrees with the Supreme Court's decision today. So next, what the DOJ vows to do.
We share this place, we all belong.
I'm Bill Weir in Greenland, and this is CNN.
All new Inside Africa. Go inside the inventive minds, evolving places, and creative trends of the Africa you need to know now. Ugandan tech pioneers create new ways of learning.
We envision a world where all children have equitable access to high-quality education.
Inside Africa on CNN, in association with Zenith Bank.
Attorney General Merrick Garland says the entire department, quote, strongly disagrees with today's ruling by the Supreme Court. You'll remember the important context here. It was Merrick Garland who would have been on the Supreme Court for this decision had Mitch McConnell not blocked the process and instead ushered in former President Trump's pick of Neil Gorsuch. CNN senior justice correspondent Evan Perez joins me now live. Evan, what is Merrick Garland's plan?
Yeah, Allison, you know, you point out the tremendously consequential decision in 2016 that why Merrick Garland is now in this position. And he says, and you know, based on what has been happening in the last few weeks, that the Department of Justice is going to be essentially going state to state as these states try to react to what this ruling from the Supreme Court to enact different laws. And so you can expect that this is going to be state-by-state combat between the states and the Justice Department. I'll read you just a part of what Merrick Garland's statements today says. It says, the ability to decide one's own future is a fundamental American value, and few decisions are more significant and personal than the choice of whether and when to have children. The Justice Department will use every tool at our disposal to protect reproductive freedom, and we will not waver from the Department's founding responsibility to protect the civil rights of all Americans. And in other parts of the statement, you can already see where this is going, Allison. For instance, the statement says that the Department will work with other federal agencies to ensure that there's access to reproductive tools that women have, and that includes, for instance, the FDA's approval of mifepristone, which is obviously one of the ways that states might try to do, which is to ban over-the-counter or the availability rather of drugs that are used to have abortions. And so these are the types of things that the Justice Department, you can expect, is going to be fighting the states in the coming months and perhaps years to come, as this issue is far from being settled. Allison?
Mm-hmm. Okay, Evan Perez, thank you very much. So just hours after the Supreme Court's decision, some companies vowing to stand by their employees who seek an abortion. Joining us now is CNN's Allison Kosick. Allison, hi.
Hi,
So which
Allison.
companies are doing this?
Okay, so it's important to point out that a lot of these companies actually began to change their health care plans when the draft opinion looking to overturn Roe v. Wade came out. And so, you know, we see a lot of these companies already covering abortion in their health care plans, and now they're adding the travel-related reimbursement part of this for employees who have to go possibly across state lines to get abortions. So we're seeing a lot of this in tech companies. Microsoft, for one, giving its financial support for what it calls critical health care, including abortions. Meta, formerly known as Facebook, also giving travel expense reimbursements to women who need to cross state lines to get abortions. Netflix is actually providing up to $10,000 in reimbursements for travel and for abortion to each U.S. full-time employee. This is a lifetime maximum and also includes other procedures as well. And it's not just tech. We're seeing other companies, including Disney. You don't see that up there on the screen, also giving reimbursements for those who need to travel out of state. Disney is significant because, remember, Disney getting kind of caught up in the crossfire with the governor of Florida over the Don't Say Gay bill. Also, we're seeing it in the financial industry. J.P. Chase, one of the biggest employers in the financial industry, actually putting out an internal memo that I obtained earlier today from June. The company, already saying saying back in June that it will pay for travel to states that allow legal abortions, this becoming effective July 1st at JP Morgan. JP Morgan saying, as always, we're focused on the health and well-being of our employees and want to ensure equitable access to all benefits. We're also seeing companies like Yelp and Levi Strauss and dating app Bumble also wading into this, political mire, many may see, in offering benefits, these travel-related expenses, if women need to go ahead and get abortions. With this decision, it's interesting to see these companies wade into the political sphere. It's not easy. They have to sort of fend off those who are coming at them. But why shouldn't they, right? I mean, you think about women, they make up half of the American workforce.
Yeah, I mean, unless there are criminal consequences. It's complicated, which is why it's so interesting that they've already come out just in these past few hours and taken this position.
Right.
Allison, thank you,
You got it.
very much. Okay, so the House also just passed the bipartisan gun safety bill. So we're live on Capitol Hill with that development next.
What do you see when you look at the surface? Just that, the surface. But dive deeper and new possibilities emerge. Essential intelligence from S&P Global takes you here, providing the data, risk assessment, and workflow solutions you need to plumb the wonders beneath. A better, more prosperous future awaits. It's yours for the seeking. S&P Global. Seek and prosper.
I'm Will Ripley in Taipei, Taiwan, and this is CNN.
This is the work that continues. Who we are today and what we can become.
This is journalism that reflects the world we live in.
I'm Julia Chatterley. I'll speak to newsmakers, risk takers, and the ultimate game changers.
First Move with Julia Chatterley, weeknights on CNN.
I'm Jim Bitterman in Paris, and this is CNN.
It's totally covered in solar, also the side panels, and we have this patented proprietary solar technology which we developed over the last couple of years. And this vehicle here is recharging on average per day 10 miles. In a week, it's 70 miles through the sun. Additionally, of course, I have a battery on board. I can recharge it just as a regular electric vehicle, but we have this convenient feature. It's taking away this fear of recharging, this fear of range anxiety, and making it more convenient, energy efficient, and you're saving costs. Energy is coming from the sun for free. And the second pillar is selling and licensing this technology to B2B customers. Trucks, train, buses, camper van. There's huge potential in this market.